Ellie, you are up next, sir. Hello.
Hi, Bart.
Where are you playing out of here?
Montreal playground,
Ah, Montreal.
VIP room.
In the VIP room. So playground. And this is a high stakes hand, right?
Yes, for me, it's the biggest. It's the biggest game I played in my life.
Okay, so what's the size of the game?
10, 25, and we're straddling 50.
So 10, 25 plus 50. And how deep are you?
14,900 or 15K, something like that.
And this is the biggest game that you've ever played?
Yes.
Okay, so
Well, I
15.
played in the room before, but this is
Okay.
this is the biggest game. So
Okay,
it's
cool.
eight-handed, and usually the minimum buy-in is 2K, the maximum is 10K.
hmm
And my effective stack is with the villain. We have approximately the same stack.
Right under 15,000.
Yes, and just for history, we both started 5K and we both are up 10K approximately.
Okay, that's some good background. Okay.
Okay, so pre-flop, I'm under the gun +1.
hmm
I have ace king, ace of diamonds, king of spade.
Okay.
So I open to 175.
Okay.
Hijack calls, dealer calls, small blind calls.
So hijack calls, because this is from Montreal, the puck calls, small
Yeah.
blind calls, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4 ways to the flop. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so 4 ways. And the pot looks like it's about 700 Canadian.
Yes.
Okay. By the way, before you go to the flop, how often are people, like, how is this game? It's just a high stakes game. You don't really see, if it's a tough high stakes game, you wouldn't really see a lot of flat calling, although you are bringing in from +1. So I was just wondering about that.
Yes. I was really surprised because I was hoping someone to three bet me. So unfortunately, no one did. So this is part of the hand disappointment. And anyways, yeah, usually there's 4 or 5 bets,
Okay.
but really min clicking. They love to min click a lot. I don't know why.
Like make it like 400 or something?
Yeah, like from 175 to 400, and someone makes it 850. Like
Right. But that did not happen. We're going to see this 4 ways. Okay. So 700 in the pot. Yep.
I go to the flop.
hmm
Ace of hearts, three of spades, four of diamonds, rainbow.
So ace 4, 3 rainbow. You have ace king, hijack and button, and the small blind call. And, if I were to tell you that, again, this is, you're saying you're in the VIP room. I don't exactly know what this setup is. Just because a game is super high stakes doesn't mean that it's necessarily filled with good players. I mean, we've seen me play on Hustler Casino Live, right? If I
Yes,
was playing on
of
Hustler
course.
Casino Live in a game like this, where we typically would be 15,000 effective, I would bet here 100% all day. In a sort of the more higher stakes that you go playing in a public format, you would think that the tougher the game is, and then you start to try to revert to trying to at least approach somewhat of equilibrium, where there's just going to be a lot of checking reflected in a multi-way situation anyways, in a really tough hold'em game with the hijack flat calling and the button calling and the small blind calling. With that being said, though, I still think that I would probably bet here, and you wouldn't have to bet much, right? Something like maybe 250 to, yeah, what was 40, 20, 30, yeah, maybe like 200 to 250, something like that. If the small blind checks too, which I'm assuming is going to happen.
Small blind checks,
Yep.
and I did exactly what you're saying. I bet 275.
So a little bit larger. Okay, so +1 bet's 275. Okay.
Yes. The dealer raises to 950.
So the hijack folds, right?
The hijack fold, sorry, yeah. I
Yeah,
didn't
and the
get this
button
part.
goes to 950.
Yes.
And the small blind folds.
And the small blind calls.
Small blind calls.
Yes. So here it started. The story started from here.
Oh, so it's ace.
I haven't seen this before in my life. Anyways.
It's ace 4, 3 rainbow, right?
Yes. And I have the ace of diamonds.
I mean, this is really, this kind of makes me want, it kind of makes me want to fold here. So you bet 275, button goes to 950, and the small blind cold calls. So the situations where you would be ahead here would be if the button was just pulling some bullshit or possibly, raising with a hand like 5-6, right? Or something like that, open-ended with a backdoor, suited connector. And then the small blind thought it was such a weird board for the button to raise that small blind's just not going to fold an ace. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever ace that maybe the small blind overcalled with, maybe like ace 10 suited, ace 9 suited, something like that. I mean, I would be very, very concerned in a smaller stakes game here with this type of action here. So 275, 950, so 1800, 22, the pot's like 29 and it's like 600 or 675 for you to call, something like that. Looks like. I mean, you've got ace king. So you're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5-1 here. Maybe it is a little bit weak to fold now. And here's my thought, like if you see a blank, if you call and then a blank comes, if the button is bullshitting here, he's almost always going to take a card, right? Because he's got bullshitting, meaning like say he's raising a draw or something like that, because he's got to be concerned about the small blind cold call. And then when you overcall, you at least have an ace. So I can't really imagine if the button has any clue that he's going to fire again here as a bluff on the turn. It's just like you're getting such good pot odds that I could see continuing on, but continue on with caution is what I would say.
Yeah, but Bart, I need to tell you something. Really, this hand, like I didn't sleep all night. I really want to ask you, I want to tell you something first.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of crazy players that do stuff that even you, a master in poker, you won't understand it.
Is the button one of these guys? Is the small blind one of these guys?
The small blind is one of these guys.
So you think that the small blind might just, you think the small blind might just call within it. If the small blind's cold call doesn't always represent strength, like a normal setup, then it leans me towards continuing then for sure.
What I saw is that this small blind was trying to do something. He called to try to do something crazy later on, because I've seen a lot. I was playing for 2-3 hours and I've seen a lot. And this is not the first time I played. This was the sixth time.
Okay, I get that. I mean, the only thing that I would say is that it seems like your hand strength is not strong enough. It doesn't sound like you were considering this, but if anyone's ever saying, oh, you should 4-bet, I think he's just too deep here to bloat the pot up like this in this particular situation. Even if the small blind is crazy, once in a while, the small blind's gonna show up with hands. So if I'm gonna continue, I'm gonna call and see what develops. Is that what you did?
Unfortunately, no.
No, you didn't. Oh, I didn't even know that. Okay, you did re-raise.
Yes, because again, I'm telling you, with the history of the game going on, my hand is really strong. But anyways.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is, and I don't even know that you re-raise flop. I remember this hand is just that whatever size you decide to 3-bet here, are you saying like if the button gets out of the way, if the puck gets out of the way, and let's say the small blind like back jams, you're just going to be happy to stack off here against that guy?
I didn't know what was going on in my head.
Well,
it's been 2 years. It's been 2 years I'm playing poker like on a weekly basis. I'm considered new, but I learned the game really fast, and I watched too much your YouTubes and Doug Polk, and I read some books, so I really accelerated well. I consider myself I accelerated fast in the game, but I chose to repop it.
So what did you go for sizing?
I went crazy. 2,450.
Well, I don't think that's crazy. I thought you were going to say you jammed or something.
No, I didn't jam.
Yeah. So 2,450?
Yes.
I mean, my only question, like I said, the only thing about this is that, I just put forth the scenario where button folds, right? And then small blind does something crazy and like rejams. Now I'll put forth the scenario as, how about if button calls now? And even if the small blind gets out of the way, here, I'll also put this forward, Ellie. Like if you obviously you're going to 3-bet the flop here. If button calls, and let's say small blind folds, and now all of a sudden you're in a situation where, the pot's approaching 7,000 and you guys have like, a pot and a half bet left moving to the turn. So you've got like, pot's going to be like 7,000, your head's up with about 11,000 behind. Are you putting more money in on like a non-deuce and a non-seven on the turn?
Theoretically speaking, I should not be putting more money.
It's just, there's a little bit of break in logic if you're this is what I always say, and this is across for all levels. This is why this gets really, really complex. Like, if you put in a raise for value, and then when you're called, you think you're beaten, or you're not comfortable putting in more money on a blank, then there's a little bit of logical inconsistency here. That's why the very first question that I asked was, are you three betting here to like try to induce the small blind to back jam? This is why I probably wouldn't three bet the flop, because I would get very, very uncomfortable if the button called. Even if the button's, he's not the maniac, I'd be very, very wary if the button calls. Now, he could still have some like 5-6 suited types of hands, but you're out of position, and it's going to be very, very treacherous with the rest of the hand. Now, you don't take a line that makes necessarily a hand easy to play just to do it, but that is what my concern is with three betting the flop here. But okay, so you go to 2450. What does the button do?
The button folds.
Okay, I think that's actually good.
This was my whole point. Like, I want to go heads up on the turn in position. Because I knew the dealer button is like, there was something fishy, but I was concerned about the small blind. And the small blind, usually he's not the type of guy that postures or tanks, and he's the type of guy that plays fast, So in 25 seconds, he called.
He calls. Interesting. So the small blind calls, and I will, even if he's a maniac though, I'm still kind of, now that you're in position though, I'm still kind of left with, it's actually kind of the same question. It's like, are you going to be comfortable putting in money here in on a blank? Although now you're going to be in position. So you go to 2450, he calls. So you've put in 29 plus the other 950 that the button put in. So that's like 3850. I believe the pot is, that's 5850. I believe the pot's like 6550. I'm doing that right?
I have it 6,700. I don't know why.
6,700. Okay, so he calls and your head's up.
But just Bart, I want to say something. The crazy player is the dealer. The small blind, he is crazy. But this day he was up. Usually when he's up, he doesn't play. He plays tighter. He doesn't widen up his range. He was on the phone. He was going out and coming in. He was not really zoned in the game. I think he was playing his cards.
Well, that would make me. I might have misunderstood from the beginning because I thought he was the crazy one. That would kind of make me more concerned here, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you're right.
All right. So what's the turn here? Ace 4-3.
The turn is the three of hearts with a heart possibility now. Flush
so ace
possibility.
Ace of hearts, 4 diamonds, 3 of spades, 3 hearts. But he can't have ace X of hearts. It would only be, you only have like a straight draw with a heart or 4X of hearts. And it's just like, if you're telling me that he wasn't really zoned in, usually when a guy's not really zoned in, I feel like they pass on the marginal spots because they're not zoned in. So it would kind of make me seem like it would be less likely that this would be like ace 10 or ace jack holding on. Now, could he have like ace 5? Something like that. So I assume he checks?
He checks, right? Like, he checks on the spot, and me in my head, when I raised the flop, I said, in my head, I'm telling you, I'm being honest with you. I said, if I go in position on the turn, I'm going to check it. I'm going to see the river, and then I go from there. But I don't know why I didn't do that.
Oh, so you were saying that you should have played some pot control, which of course is the advantage of you being in position here. The only thing I would say about the 3 here is that, hey, now there's obviously less combinations of ace 3, right? Ace 3 suited. That looks like there's one. It looks like it could be ace 3 of clubs. I would look at the suit of your hand with the diamonds. And then, there's only one quad combo of 3s. Obviously, he's got pocket 4s. And then, and again, or just keep going back to the same thing. A little bit of logical inconsistency where you're putting in the extra bet on the flop and then you don't really want to put in more money on one of the best cards probably in the deck, to be honest with you. Because the reason why I say it's one of the best cards in the deck is because it cuts out the full house combinations. So it really is one of the best cards and you still want to sort of check it back. But you're saying that you didn't check it back.
No, because I like whatever you're saying, it was going on my mind. Like I said, how can I check this turn? Like, I mean, I couldn't check the turn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but
you could bet like 2,000, or you could bet like 2,000 or something, 2,500, something like that.
No, I bet more. I bet 4,650.
4,650?
50, yes.
Because the reason why I was saying you could get away with betting like say 2,000, 2,500 and then evaluating and just, taking a showdown because the pot got really big is because somebody might be scared that you have pocket aces here, right? I mean, even if they have forced full, they might be going into a check call shell with like pocket ace, be thinking that you have pocket aces here. 4,650, man. I think this starts to really become an overplay. Unless the guy was like the biggest fish in the world and the small blind was just never going to let off an ace. And I'm not saying, listen, we always advocate going for multiple streets with top pair, ace, king. You could easily go for 3 streets in a different setup. But I mean, you have 3-bet the flop against 2 people. And now you're taking what is almost like a gigantic sizing here, betting almost half your stack after that action. You're kind of representing more than what you actually have. And you don't want to get into a situation where you get everything weaker to fold out and only better to continue.
I totally agree with what you're saying. I'm not happy with this bet. This is why I wanted to call you to listen to someone professional and tell me that this was not a good bet.
I just think that the sizing, if you're going to bet the turn, you don't have to take this type of sizing because I fear way ahead, way behind. But okay, so you go 4,650.
But just one small question. If I go 2,000.
2,000 to 2,500, yeah.
Or 2,500, don't you feel like it's really like I'm representing aces or nothing?
Well, you might be representing aces or nothing anyways here. I don't know. It's just, I feel like with larger sizing, you might be representing aces or nothing here as opposed to 2,000 to 2,500. So you go 4,650 and?
After 40 seconds, like that, he jams on me.
Well, I mean, at this point, I just can't even can't imagine you being good here. It is a little surprising that he is just jamming, but he might just go with it. I mean, look how strong. He cold called a button raise, then you 3-bet the flop, and he called. And now he's check jamming over the top of your big bet, right, on the turn. I mean, he's got to have it. He's got to have something here. People are saying you have to call this off now. If he truly has 7-7-2-5 behind, I know the math has been a little bit hard here. I mean, it looks like it, like I said, it's like 22, 23,000, 7 to 8,000 the call. I don't. Even still, even if he's getting 3 or 4 to 1, it's pretty hard. What ended up happening here?
Well, I tanked for 10 minutes. I was thinking about, I was trying to be like counting all the combos, everything. I even thought about life, about work.
Well, your biggest game you ever played, right?
Like, it's like I tanked for 10 minutes. Nobody, we don't call time in the room, I really tanked for 10 minutes and I was talking to him and I was telling him, I can put you on a hand, like all of those stuff. And in my mind, I can't see but him having ace-4.
So did you call?
No. After 10 minutes, I decided to fold. And usually, also, I want to tell you something. He folded his hand in a really secured way. Like usually, if someone doesn't care, he throw the cards. Sometimes one card opens. Sometimes he shows the hand next to him and he folds because it's not show one, show all. It's in the room. He folded in a really secured way. And I'm pretty sure that this guy, because he's like we're nemesis, he's my nemesis. He would have shown if it was a bluff. So
I think you made Ellie. I think you made a good. I think you made a good fold. I think if he had a bluff, he would have showed you.
I saved my half of my stack. I think I put him on. Actually, I would say I would tell you this, Bart. He would have done the same with quads and with ace four and with pocket fours, because he knows on the river it doesn't make sense for him to shove on the river after he calls the turn. So he has to make the play on the turn. We all know it. And he's a good player, and he knows I have ace king. The whole table knew I have ace king. The whole table
Well,
knew it.
I get it. We've gone pretty long. I have to move along. I just want you to take away, though. I think the more important, the sort of more important way that you shape this one, I think, is just thinking about why I wasn't a big fan of the 3-bet on the flop and how that sort of relates to one of the more basic concepts of live cash game poker. A little bit different from tournaments because there's a lot of equity protection in tournament betting, but in live cash game poker, you don't want to get into a situation where you make a play for value, and then when you're called, you start getting antsy and you start sort of, being apprehensive about putting more money into the pot. But that was a good one. I appreciate the call. Thank you very much